Johnson is in the other room.
Here.
Our first order of business is to present Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year Award. Abby Johnson.
This is Abby. She's our newest volunteer escort. Abby, this is Cheryl's Alessandro.
I'd be the youngest director in Planned Parenthood history.
You'll actually be in charge of the abortions at your clinic.
I have a chance to make a real difference.
No matter what you do for the rest of your life, you're still gonna be a baby killer.
The only thing that's changed is you, Abby. Can you even hear yourself talk right now about these procedures? These are little babies.
I'm not going to apologize for doing a job that helps women in crisis.
There's still a part of me that isn't sure.
I know. But the one thing that all experts agree on is that at this stage, the fetus can't feel anything.
Sorry to bother you, but they need an extra person in the back room. Are you free?
Today we have the real Abby Johnson via Skype with us. She's an activist, she's a speaker, she's a writer, she's a daughter to proud parents, she's a wife, she's a mother and a friend to many, and from today onwards, she is a friend of South Africa. Abby, I wish I could say welcome in South Africa, but I can at least say welcome to RoepTV.com.
Well, thank you. I wish I was there too. One day I'm going to make it there.
Yes, please. Listen, Unplanned, your book, is described by reviewers and critics, and I want to quote this. It says, an honest story with shocking facts that cannot be ignored and will shake perceptions. If you must give a short synopsis on the book and your life to people that has never, ever, ever heard of Unplanned, what would you say?
You know, Unplanned it's just my journey and how I got involved in Planned Parenthood, in our world's largest abortion provider, how I got involved and then how I got out and sort of everything in between, exposing what's taking place inside of these abortion clinics. And this is not just, oh, well, that just happens in the United States. No, this is a systemic problem around the world. The abuses of women, and of course, I mean, abortion always ends up with the death of a child. And so, these are things that we need to be talking about in the media. We need to be talking about them in our communities, with our families and our churches, because real people are being affected. And that's what I was hoping to really portray in Unplanned.
Mm. Abby, there has been online petitions, thousands of people saying, please, they support the movie, they support you and your story and the book. Please bring this, the movie to South Africa and to the rest of the world. I want to ask you, give us a brief insight on statistics and the legality of abortion internationally.
So, there are most places, most civilized countries, what they would consider first world countries, limit abortion and up until 12 weeks. So you can have an abortion, but past 12 weeks, you're not allowed to have an abortion unless there's some sort of health complication. That's the way it is all throughout Europe. And unfortunately, in the United States, though, we have abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy, same in Canada. And so we're now seeing the International Planned Parenthood Federation going into other countries and trying to spread this Americanized abortion culture into other parts of the world, which is incredibly, incredibly dangerous, of course. So, we need activist groups to always be vigilant, to always be alert, and to pay attention to what these organizations like IPPF are doing in your country.
Let's focus on South Africa, because I've got stats in front of me. According to the Abortion and Reproductive Justice Conference that was held in 2018, and they say, despite the fact that abortion is legal in South Africa, it is estimated that between 52 and 58% of the estimated 260,000 abortions that take place in South Africa every year are illegal. What is the reason for that? Do you think women feel ashamed? Do they know it's wrong? Why do people still go to the backyard clinics, if I can say it like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is shame. I think that in the United States, I don't know how it is in South Africa, but in the United States, abortions aren't necessarily paid for by the government. So sometimes it's financial issues. You can get it cheaper going somewhere else and not to an abortion clinic. So there may be some of that, but I think that some of it is cultural as well. You know, we see here, I live in Texas, so we border Mexico. We see a lot of sort of what they call curanderas, so like witch doctor sort of women, and you go to them and they give you herbal teas and different herbal recipes, and that's supposed to abort your baby, which oftentimes ends up with women having very serious complications. So I think some of it is cultural as well. But I think a lot of the times it is shame. You know, they know that they're doing something wrong, and that should cause sort of a check in their spirit, right? Like if I'm having to go and sneak around to do something, maybe I'm not doing the right thing.
I want to ask you something, and let's make it a little bit more personal, because you understand both sides of the abortion conversation. I mean, you're very passionate about women having a choice, and it stems from the fact that you as a young woman had to make a choice.
Yeah, I've had 2 abortions, and you know, I think that I made both of those decisions out of shame, out of embarrassment, not wanting to embarrass my parents. And, you know, I think that there's a lot of that being raised in the church, being told, you know, you better not come home with a baby. You know, we're not going to raise a grandchild. And I'm not saying that's my parents' fault. I'm just saying that that's sort of the message that we were told growing up. And I think the messaging has changed a little bit, you know, which I think is a good thing. You know, parents are more like, just come to me, period, you know, like, don't worry about it. Just come to me about whatever it is, which I think is always a good thing. That's what we want, is communication with our children. But yeah, I mean, I had 2 abortions in my life. It was the 2 worst choices I've ever made in my life. I don't believe that women, I don't believe that our choices should ever infringe on the life and rights of another human being. And that's exactly what abortion is. So I absolutely believe in a lot of choices. I believe in parenting through adoption. I believe in parenting with your husband. I believe that if you need to be a single parent, be a single parent. I believe in grandparents raising their children if that's the best option. I believe in a lot of things, but I just don't believe that it's ever acceptable for us to oppress another human being and then say, well, it's my right. That's just oppression, and it's wrong.
I mean, let's quickly speak about religion and abortion in the same sentence like you referred to now in the church, because there's no anti-abortion passages in the Bible. And it's clear that God is the creator of life, and all life is precious, born and unborn. So what does the Bible say about abortion?
Well, the Bible talks specifically about, you know, creating us in our mother's wombs, that we are intimately made, that we are wonderfully made. And it also speaks very clearly about murder and innocent bloodshed in the Bible. And I can't think of anything that better describes abortion than innocent bloodshed. And so, you know, it talks about speaking up for those who have no voice, you know, speaking up for the marginalized. And I mean, again, I don't think there's any group that is more marginalized than those in the womb. They literally have no voice. They have no rights. They have no defense. And so we must be that defense for them.
I love it when you say that, as scripture has proven, God values all life over and over and over again, those that doesn't have a voice and those that do have a voice. And it's interesting because in Exodus 21, I actually read that the Mosaic law, the punishment for accidentally killing an unborn child was death, funny enough. If people are fighting, it says, if people are fighting and hit a pregnant woman and she gives birth prematurely, the offender must be fined. But if there is a serious injury, you are taken life for life. It's interesting, eh?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think that God, of course that's Old Testament, old law, but I think that God was very serious. He's always been very serious about the unborn. He's always been very serious about life. And so for us, and especially for some, Christian religions, to be accepting of abortion, it really flies in the face of what we know, of who we know God to be.
I think sometimes it's not just necessarily that physical death that haunts us. It's sometimes that emotional death and the guilt that we carry with us. If there's women watching you speak in this program, I want to ask you, what's your advice to people carrying that burden on their soul and their hearts?
I was watching this movie one time. It was an animated movie with one of my daughters when she was young, maybe 5. And there was a line in the movie, and it was this character, and he was asking another character, do you know why today is called the present? And he said, no, why? And he said, because today is a gift. The present is a gift. And there were times in my life, definitely after I left Planned Parenthood, where I struggled with my past. And, how can my past ever be used for good? How can I ever be forgiven for what I've done? But I realized that my past and those secrets and that shame, that's exactly where the enemy lives. But Christ wants us to live right here, today, with him, in the present. This is where he lives. He's not living in our past either. He's living right here. And he wants our burden to be light. And it's almost prideful in a way too, to say, well, my sin is too great to bring to the foot of the cross. That's a lie. Nothing is too great for God. And that's truly his desire for us, is that we're able to unburden ourselves of our past and give it to him and just live every single day as a gift.
Abby, you mentioned earlier by saying you look back at your life and that the 2 abortions were your worst choices you'd ever made. Are you regretful, or do you regret anything else in your life if you look back?
I try not to live with regret. I mean, I try to just look forward and see, even my 8 years at Planned Parenthood, I can't say that I really regret that time. I mean, those 8 years made me the person that I am. They set me on the path that I'm on right now. And even though I know that God never wanted me there, he never wanted me in the abortion clinic, I know that he's able to use that past for his glory and to use it for good. And that's my prayer every day, is that he'll just continue to keep using my mess, right? The mess of my past for his glory. And that's what he's been doing.
What about being thankful for something? What are you really thankful for?
I'm really, really thankful for my family. I'm really, really thankful for God's mercy, because I need it every single day. But even, it was his mercy that really opened my heart to having more children, to having the family that I have today. And so I think it all sort of starts with just looking at where we need forgiveness, looking at really looking inward and looking at the places where we really need his help, and just crying out to him for it, and he will help.
I like that. Last question, Abby. We are so looking forward to the movie Unplanned to hit South African borders and to really make a difference. And I know the people that has read your book or never has read your book, they must go and buy the Unplanned book. But I want to know, for the skeptics, there's people that would say, every day around the world, there's more than 40,000 people, mostly children, that die of starvation and malnutrition. Don't you think that we must just rather protect and cherish the life that's already alive and the already born? What would you say?
I think that we have to do both. I think that all life is precious. I think that all life is valuable. And I think that we all have a calling. And for some of us, our calling is to work with children who are starving, who are in these particular areas, who are in need of medical help, need of shelter and food. For some of us, it is protecting the unborn, protecting those in the womb. And for some of us, it's protecting both. And I think that, you know, there have been people who support abortion that say, well, I don't want to go watch a film. I don't want to read a book about abortion. I'm not going to change my mind. And if that's the case, then why not just read it anyway? Maybe you'll learn something. I personally watch and read pro-choice documentaries and films and books all the time because I want to have a better perspective. I want to hear their experiences. I want to know how abortion has affected them. So what's the harm? If you're so solid in your opinion, if you're so sure about what you believe, why not just watch the movie?
There's still a part of me that isn't sure.
I know. But the one thing that all experts agree on is that at this stage, the fetus can't feel anything.
Sorry to bother you, but they need an extra person in the back room. Are you free?
I saw it. And it was like it was twisting and fighting for its life.
We commend the souls of these hundreds of children. And Lord, we pray to end abortion.
I really appreciate what you've done for us. I'll not forget it.
22,000 abortions. How do I even comprehend that?
Rough day at the office.
You can say that.
It's your dad and me. You are our baby from the moment of conception.
We are paying you to be a perfect instrument of corporate policy. We are an abortion provider.
I can't be a part of this anymore. Everything that they told us is a lie.
Don't underestimate the repercussions of this. You gotta be careful.
Rhonda, please, don't do this! Rhonda!
Let me tell you what's gonna happen if you walk through that door.
Congratulations. You've made an enemy of one of the most powerful organizations on the planet.
Roep TV, it was lekker speaking with you.